Hello everyone, John here from Gaming in the Wild, and while it seems crazy to me that December is here already, that is indeed the case, which means it's time for my final indie look-ahead video of 2025, and what a year it's been. I'm really looking forward to Games of the Year season, but we still have some games coming out this year, so in this video I'm going to run through 15 interesting indie games that are slipping out here right at the end of the year that I think are worth your attention. We've got a much anticipated skating game where your mission is to eat the moon. We've got a grieving mom simulator where you have to travel through hell to try and save the spirit of your deceased child. And we've got the release of a sci-fi horror game that was first announced in 2012, which has got to be some kind of record. Your likes are appreciated. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything that's coming out this month, and I will let you know all about this channel's wonderful Patreon community at the end. So let's get into it. These are the indie games coming out on December 25. On December the 1st, we got Marvel Cosmic Invasion, a side-scrolling beat-em-up in the classic retro style. You can play single player or with friends locally or online and choose from a roster of 15 classic characters including Iron Man, Black Panther, Wolverine, Ghost Rider and more. And of course we don't especially associate Marvel with indie games, but this was actually made by Tribute, a Canadian indie 3-person studio. So it's still an indie game despite working with that huge Marvel license, and it's currently sitting on a respectable Metacritic 80, with critics saying that it matches the achievements of the company's previous game, the highly rated Shredder's Revenge. It's been a really good year for beat-em-ups, so this is a nice way to round it out. You can play it on Steam and all of the consoles. That's Marvel Cosmic Invasion. 2025 has also been a big year for retro-style pixel RPGs. We've had Fretless, we've had Demon School, we've had Kingdoms of the Dump, and last but not least, we're getting Kingdom of Night. This one dropped on the 2nd of December. It's a top-down RPG set in a cursed version of 1980s Miami. That's Miami as in the tiny town in Arizona, not Miami as in Will Smith. The game promises 5 different classes to choose from and a highly customizable character system with 10 separate traits that you can work on. It has an expansive, interconnected map and a local co-op mode if you'd like to play with a friend. It also has real-time combat. It's hard to get a handle on exactly how the combat will play from the trailer. We can see charge hits, magic attacks, and turning into a bird to escape a hit. So I'm very interested to see how that feels in action, and I really do like the pixel art Twin Peaks vibe that the spaces and the characters have in this game. It's out now on Steam, so if it sounds like your bag, then check it out. That's Kingdoms of Night. Also on the 2nd, we got Scrabdackle. This one comes from Australian publisher Fellow Traveller, the company who published 1000 Times Resist and Citizen Sleeper, so that's quite a pedigree. And while Scrabdackle might not quite be on the level of those huge indie games, it's still an interesting little game in its own right. It's a top-down adventure game set in a fun, magical kingdom. You play as a wizard who is dropped into the middle of this strange land on his way to magic school and has to find his wand and get back on track. However, the journey won't be straightforward. Of course, there are gates to unlock, enemies to overcome, puzzles to solve, and a long road to navigate. I played the demo of this one at Next Fest, link on the screen now if you'd like to see that video, and I was quite taken with the conversation system in particular. It takes notes from Oxenfree, so you can walk away from a conversation or interrupt at any time, which is quite refreshing if you don't like being locked into a tree of dialogue options. And I really like the scribbly, charming MS Paint art style of this game. There's some combat and puzzles in there too, so check it out. It's on Steam only for now. That's Scrabdackle. Also on the 2nd, we got Sleep Awake, and this one has a special interest for me because when Mixtape got bumped into 2026, I was left with a space to fill on my Fantasy Critic roster. I went for Sleep Awake and it has got a mixed 76, but I really did like the look of it. It's a very cool looking first-person horror game about a world where people are disappearing in their sleep and falling foul of an entity called the Hush. To escape this fate, people in this world will go to great lengths to stay awake with predictably disastrous results. They have brought the world to ruin, which you can imagine if you can think about how capable you are before your morning coffee. So in this game, you'll experience sleepless hallucinations of real or perhaps imagined monsters. Who knows what's real and what isn't when you haven't slept for days. And the game's wavy, psychedelic visual style seems like it can really take you to some strung-out places. The director of this one is Corey Davis, who said in an interview with Screen Rant that his focus was on that vibrant, new wave experience of horror, and that he wanted to push the boundaries of what horror is. It's published by upstart horror publisher Blumhouse, and it drops simultaneously on Steam, Xbox and PlayStation 5 on the 2nd, so check it out. That's Sleep Awake. And this next one is just fascinating. I often say on this channel that games have been long awaited, and that's usually a few years, maybe 5 at the most, but Routine was announced all the way back in 2012. So it's been a full 13 plus years from announcement to release. It's a sci-fi horror game set in a deserted moon base, and the development story of this one is just wild. It started out as a solo developer project, and it was a walking simulator, like a sci-fi version of Dear Esther. It was worked on by a small team in a spare room for years before being put on hold in 2017 due to creative, technical, and financial difficulties. Indie publisher Raw Fury then picked up the project and helped bring it to fruition, apparently giving valuable outside input on the game's story and art direction, among other things. And the game has changed a lot in that time. Enemies and stealth have been added, and the release looks like a real visual showpiece, having been moved from Unreal 3 to 4 and now to Unreal 5. All that, and the soundtrack is by Mick Gordon of Doom fame. Like, who knows what to expect from this game? It just came out, and the reviews are interesting too, with some hailing it as a masterpiece and some saying it's kind of drab. I'm not a huge fan of survival horror or stealth or that kind of thing, but I am a huge fan of exploring interesting sci-fi spaces, so I'll be dipping into that one for sure. It's out now and it's on Game Pass as well. That's Routine. Also on the 4th, we got Baseless, a physics-based sci-fi adventure where you both move and attack by firing your gun. So if you saw Shotgun Copman earlier this year, you'll have the idea. Shooting down will propel your character up into the air, so it's like reverse platforming in a way. You have to manage your height, speed, and movement at the same time as you're trying to deal with enemies. So I think this is going to be one of those left brain, right brain games that's like spinning plates while also patting your head and rubbing your tummy all at the same time, and I think you might know already from that description whether this is something for you, but it has a clean and colourful art style and some nice squelchy electronic music to play along to. And the critical response to this one has been really good so far. It only has 2 reviews on Metacritic, but one of them was an 80, one of them was an 81, including Video Chums saying it's one of the best indies of 2025. So keep an eye on this one for sure. If you like arcadey action games, you can pick it up on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam, where there's currently a 25% launch discount. So check it out. That's Baseless. That brings us up to date to the 5th of December, and we get a very intriguing indie game today as I'm recording this. It's called Angst, A Tale of Survival, and it's a self-styled, quest-driven survival game. It's set in a foreboding, wintry, frozen world, and it's a survival game with a twist, because as well as the usual foraging, fishing, fighting, and crafting, and staying warm, watered, and fed, you'll also encounter a range of interesting characters as you travel this map. They have tasks for you, they have quests for you to carry out, and they have morsels of story about what's happening in this world. I actually really like what I've seen of this one. My read of the vibe places it somewhere between the dark, mysterious, dangerous world of Inside and the loosely strung edge-of-the-world community of Dredge. There's also a bit of Winter Burrow in here too, even if the vibe is more horror than cozy. The demo got some great feedback from players, and best of all, it's only $7 on Steam right now, so if you'd like a tense survival experience with a wintry vibe for the season, then go pick it up. I'd be super curious to hear from people who've played this one, because there's something about it for sure. That is Angst, A Tale of Survival. And that brings us to my most hype release of December 2025, and that is the much anticipated Skate Story. It's a stylish, surreal skating game that's coming out on the 8th of the month. And 2025 has been an unusual year of gaming for me. I've played a lot of games that are outside of my usual comfort zone, like the multiplayer shooter Ark Raiders, which really took me by surprise. And Skate Story is another game I wouldn't expect to find myself playing, but I gave the demo a spin at Next Fest and it really blew me away. In this game, you play as a glass skater with a jagged, mirrored body. You've been cast into hell and made to deal with the devil for your skateboard. If you can skate out of hell, you can keep your immortal soul. So you skate through this bizarre underworld, tricking and grinding past hazards and obstacles on a quest to skate all the way to the moon and then to eat it right out of the sky. The weirdness of this story would be intriguing enough, but the skating in this game is really out of this world, pun fully intended. It is weighty, it is heavy, you really feel every jump and every landing, and there are over 70 tricks to learn in the game for skate aficionados. I think that this game has a low barrier for entry and a really high skill ceiling, and as well as challenge courses, there are open areas for you to explore as well. The first one has some strange stone faces that you have to talk to, and some little sort of traversal puzzles to do. Really interesting stuff. I found this one to be an intoxicating experience all round, and I can't wait to dive into the full thing. That's Skate Story, coming to PlayStation and Steam on the 8th of the month. On the 9th, we get Dissimilar, another game with an intriguing premise and setting. In this game, you play as Amelia, a girl who is kidnapped one normal evening and sent back to a mysterious castle where she spent time as a child. You explore the castle's halls, rooms and basements and towers, meeting a bizarre cast of weirdos who can offer clues about the castle's secrets and what's going on. So it's a game that's really all about untangling the mystery, both of what is happening on this night and of the family secrets that lie at the base of it all. Along the way, you'll engage in grid-based tactical combat encounters where you'll need to learn the enemy's patterns and movesets and use every tool in your arsenal to stay alive. I like the premise of this one a lot, and the mixture of mystery game, exploration and tactics seems like it could be a lot of fun. It has a fresh art style as well. That's Dissimilar. It's only coming out on Steam for now, and you can check it out on December 9th. Also on the 9th, we get a game that I know a lot of you out there are looking forward to a lot. It's Unbeatable, a stylish rhythm game that the developer describes as an anime-juiced rhythm adventure. This one was delayed out of November and into December for some finishing touches from the developers, and it looks like a really dizzying game. It has a propulsive rock soundtrack, and it's set in a world where music is illegal. The developers of this one seem to have a charming sense of humour and silliness that we can see in the art, we can see it in the dialogue and characters, and even in the game's Steam description, quote, "Talk to people, help them out, or don't, I'm not your mom, play huge concerts, punch cops, then run away from the cops you have punched. There are also monsters or something, not sure what's going on there," end quote. The gameplay in this one looks fun and intense, and it really is a fresh aesthetic offering. It has charm for days. It's coming to Steam, Xbox and PlayStation on the 9th. That is Unbeatable. And this next game was almost my most hyped game of the month. It's almost a draw, in fact. The 9th is a really busy day of releases because we also get Death Howl. It's a handbrake turn from Unbeatable in terms of vibe. It's set in a washed-out netherworld between life and death, and it's just gorgeous to look at with a brittle, handcrafted pixel art style. It's rich with nature, mythology, and earthy magic, and in this game you play as a grieving mother who's trying to rescue the soul of her child. To do so, she'll have to travel this twilit limbo, facing down the spirits who stand in her path. This plays out as an interesting mix of deck building and tactics, where you have to craft cards from resources that you'll find along the way and then power them up through questing. The game builds itself as a Souls-like deck builder, so the difficulty bar is high in this one, but having spent an hour with it during Next Fest, I didn't feel that it was oppressive or off-putting, but brace yourself for a challenge if you jump into this one because it does have those Souls-like elements to it. But overall, something about this game just feels right to me. I have really high hopes for Death Howl when it drops on Steam on the 9th of December. And from here on, I think that any game that releases in mid-December and beyond is making quite a brave gamble, because the release schedule is light, which gives them a great shot at cutting through the noise, but it's basically Christmas, with people tuning out from new releases for Games of the Year season and award season, so it will be really interesting to see how things go for these last few games of the video. On the 10th, we get The End of History. It's an ambitious sandbox RPG set in a medieval world. It has really lush character art and promises carefully intertwined systems that can lead to wildly divergent story outcomes. As the game's blurb says, the game does not depict a set scenario, but rather a unique and unrepeatable story based on the player's decisions. And somewhat unbelievably, all of this was crafted by a Japanese solo developer called Tatamibeya. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Little information is available about them, although some sources say they're a developer that has a history of working on AAA games, so there's a certain level of finish here. It's a mysterious game indeed. I hope it gets some reviews because I'm quite curious about what they would say. That's The End of History out on the 10th. On the 11th, we get Unto Deepest Depths, a simple turn-based strategy game with a roguelike structure. In this game, you gather together a party of heroes, all of whom have different attributes for movement and combat and so forth. You can power them up to make them stronger as you battle through 5 distinctive biomes. The game promises procedurally generated battles, meaning there's run-to-run variation, which I think is really key for a game with a roguelike structure. That's Unto Deepest Depths. And then finally, I was just looking at the release schedule on Steam and saw saw that only one game is scheduled for release on the 31st of December. It's called The Doomed Knight, and now I don't know if the developer of this one just punched in that date as a kind of a challenge to themselves to finish it this year, but New Year's Eve seems like an insane release date, so I've put it on my calendar that I should definitely check back and see if it really did come out. It's a fantasy Metroidvania with 12 biomes and bosses. It promises over 60 enemy types and different endings based on the choices you make along the way, so place your bets in the comments on whether The Doomed Knight will come out or not on the 31st of December. Now, it being December also means that we're entering Games of the Year season, and as always, that's a time of the year that I look forward to a lot. I love seeing YouTubers, podcasters, and game sites all posting their lists. It's a time of the year when games critique gets a little bit less contentious, and everyone focuses on celebrating the games that made the year great. And in that spirit, for every week in December, I'll be posting a Game of the Year audio podcast. You can find the podcast tab on my channel's page. There are already 2 podcasts to listen to, including a guest episode with Ben from the Mimics Veil show and Brad from the So Video Games podcast. So if you're a fan of audio podcasts, then definitely check those out. But I will also be posting my own Games of the Year video towards the end of the year. I'm working on my list right now and I can't wait to share it with you. There's a lot of amazing games that came out this year. It really was a blockbuster year for gaming. But I also want to tell you about the large-scale Game of the Year vote for all of this channel's patrons. Any patron of the channel can punch in their top 5 games of the year into a form and tell me why they loved them. I will turn the results into a podcast and a video, and if you would like to take part and have your comments about games read out on the channel, I'll be picking the best ones. Patrons of any tier can join in. It's just $1 a month at the base level tier, and if you've enjoyed all the videos I've made for you this year, it would be a really welcome show of appreciation to hop on in there. You also get 20 bonus off-topic podcasts. You get a lot of content creation chat about thumbnails, analytics, how I make the videos, so if you're a YouTuber, that might be really interesting for you. And you also get an invite to the channel's amazing Discord server. One patron is worth thousands of plays on YouTube to me, so I really appreciate all of my 150 patrons, and especially the boss tier patrons, Shy Guy, King Champ, Nate, Keris, and Susanna Maria. So shout out to them, shout out to you if you'd like to hop into the Patreon, link on the screen now for that. And just to round out the video, let's have a quick look at the AAA games that are coming out this month. On the 2nd, Assassin's Creed Shadows came to the Switch 2, and I have to say I've been really impressed by Ubisoft porting their next-gen games to this handheld console. I played a bit of Star Wars Outlaws on my Switch 2 and it ran really well, and I played a bit of Assassin's Creed Shadows when it first came out on my PlayStation 5, link on the screen now for my review. Ubisoft were good enough to send me a code for the Switch 2 version, so I have it downloaded and ready to go, and I think it's really fun to be able to take a big open-world game like that on the road. So while Ubisoft might have their problems, shout out to them for doing a good job bringing next-gen games to the handheld console. Probably the biggest release of the month in AAA games is Metroid Prime 4. This has been really interesting to watch the discourse unfold around this game. It did of course have a troubled release cycle, being announced a little bit early and then later rebooted and taken into a different team's hands. The results seem to be good. The reviews have been broadly positive about it, although there are some questions about NPC characters and the slightly bare-seeming open-world hub area where Samus rides about on a motorcycle. This is a game that I don't think I'm going to get to this year, despite being a Metroid fan. I loved the original Prime, and I'm curious to see what it has to offer, but I think I'm going to put this one on hold for now. Let me know in the comments if you've played it. Should I prioritize it more? That's Metroid Prime 4. And then also on the 4th, we got Octopath Traveler 0. This is a lengthy, cozy JRPG. I have some friends that have been dying to play this game. They are huge Octopath Traveler fans, so that's a really nice, cozy one to see out the year. These games usually take tens or scores of hours to complete, so I can imagine settling down with a Switch and enjoying Octopath Traveler throughout the Christmas season. But that's really it for this month. I mean, we do have the Game Awards coming up on the 11th, so I think a lot of people are staying out of the way with their release dates to let the Game Awards happen. I will be responding to the awards in a video, or at least in some shorts, so keep an eye on the channel for that. And just before we round things out, I want to say a big thank you to the thousands of new subscribers who have flooded to Gaming in the Wild this year. It's been a huge year for the channel. I think this might be the video that puts the Gaming in the Wild podcast and YouTube channel over 1 million lifetime views, which is a huge achievement that I was never expecting to hit when I started this podcast 5 years ago. So thank you to everyone who has watched, sent me a supportive comment, joined the Patreon especially. And with that, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you on the next one.